All right, everybody, welcome back. We are here today with a good friend of mine, Dennis. Dennis is in Florida. I'm going to let him introduce himself in a second here, but like I always want to do is set the stage for everybody. So, D and I have been working together for a good chunk of time now. How long has it been, D?
For like almost a year now,
Cool.
like 11 months or 10.
We'll,
Yeah,
we'll call it
for
a
sure.
year. So,
Yeah.
over the last year, we've gone through a lot of changes together. You've seen me grow, I've seen you grow. We both had our individual struggles. So, my thought today was I want to touch on some of that stuff and touch on some of our experience with like the other traders in the community and how we see people making the same mistakes that we made, and you know what I mean, because then hopefully someone watching, then they won't make that mistake. But I also wanted to talk specifically about like your the way that I would put it in my head is like your struggles and then your superpowers with your skill. Not only that you're a trader, but that you're bilingual. You speak more than one language. So I think that that alone is something that we definitely need to kind of go at a little bit more. I have some questions written down I want to talk to you about because I've seen other traders that are bilingual struggle in some areas and use it to their advantage in some areas. So I want to talk about that. But before we get into all that, why don't you tell everybody who you are and how you got into trading?
So hello guys. My name is Dennis, and I'm 22 years old and from Puerto Rico, and my first language is Spanish. And so how I got into trading was like almost a year and a half ago, and some friend, he showed me MetaTrader, and I was like, oh, what is that? And I did my research on my own, and I found people, and yeah, that's where my trading journey started. Me doing research and finding people on Instagram and following them, and just finding education. And I started trading or learning from trading in a Spanish community, so it wasn't like English community, so it was all Spanish when I
How long
started
ago was
trading.
that?
And
How long ago was that?
I would say about last year basically. I joined ASFX like 3 months later
Got it. Got it. So just a
after
few months before
it
we
was
met.
like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, with that, specifically about the bilingual community that you were with, tell me about the experience that you've had there. Just because in with our group and the people that I've worked with, um, the struggles that I see bilingual traders coming across are very, very similar. So tell me about your experience, share your experience with everybody on what it was like working with that bilingual group before ASFX. Did you find anything that was really valuable there? Did you see that it was mostly trash? What did you take out of that experience?
My experience with that community was really nice, and I don't think I have to complain about like, oh, this was nothing, like I didn't, it was really nice. I learned a lot from other people, same backgrounds, where like Hispanics and stuff, so we have the similar, like,
Sure,
we want to be better.
sure,
But like the thing is like, and I don't want to like get be make this like a broad, like everyone is like this, because it's not. But like when we get into trading, we're somehow greedy with money, so everyone. And think because we're trying to get it, we're pushing ourselves to like make a small account into a bigger account. And that was the main issue for everyone, and basically in this Hispanic community, or like the Spanish community that I was in, everyone was trying to make it big with a small account. And I think that was the biggest issue that I had, like being around those kind of people, because regulated brokers trying to grow a 500, 250 account is too much. And that was me. I was trading live with a $250 account. That was my first live account. Never blew it. I thank you, because I got into ASFX, and my mindset changed quick in about saving. You gotta save, and I let that unregulated things away. So
well, that's good. And
that was the main thing.
but like, you can't blame yourself, bro. We've talked about that before. Like, you can't, because I got into trading. We get into it in a way that we don't end up actually trading. You know what I mean? You're introduced into trading a lot of the time, um, from someone, from some group, from something that isn't the way you're going to actually end up trading. So for you, you had to go there to almost see the other side of it, see what you didn't like, see what you didn't really align with, to then see here at ASFX what you do align with. So when everybody was trying to flip these small accounts, like that is something that everybody basically tries to do, I think. just because it's so easy. The brokers, they spend so much money on advertisements, right? They're all over the news websites and stuff like that. They say minimum deposit to get started, high leverage. Like they want you to come in and put $100 in and put $100 on the first trade. So, and I know that I've been guilty of that many times when I first got started. Just didn't know any better. What helped you make that switch to leaving that mindset behind? Have you always just been long-term focused? Is that just who you are, or was there something that sticks out?
Because the thing is, when I started trading, I never looked like, oh my God, I'm gonna make so much money. It wasn't never like that in my head. Like I was like, I really want to learn how to trade. So I wasn't focusing on making money. I was focusing on learning how to make a good trade, basically, like making good trades.
Sure.
And at the same time, I was getting blind a little bit by the money because of the people that I was around. So
Yes.
It was an issue. But I think I was just thinking about learning how to trade, not the money. And when I was trading the small account, I was in debt because when I bought the other courses, the trading courses, I used my credit card, so I was in debt, right? And then saving a little bit to start trading live, I was basically losing trades, but like managing risk, but I was losing. And I was like, hold on a minute, like I'm losing money, I have debt. This is not money I can afford to lose. So I took that money out and I paid a credit card, started paying it, paid it completely. Then reset, started saving again. And while saving, I joined ASFX. Instead of saving that money, I basically bought the course. So
But that's an investment in yourself. That's but that's an investment into yourself. That's an investment into that's awesome that you were able to make that transition and say, you know what? Because listen, I mean, you know it. We talk to people on Instagram all the time that they're like, I got my last $200 in my trading account before my rent is due. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's just, it's crazy. Yeah. You said something that really sticks out. Before we go at the more at the bilingual stuff, you said the people that you were around at the other group made a difference. And I don't think that difference has anything to do that they spoke a different language. I think that going into that group at first, you're probably going to tell us that probably was better for you because you spoke the same language, they taught you the fundamentals, there was less of a language barrier, right? Whereas if you come into ASFX and Spanish is your first language, I might say something, you might not get it because of how I talk, and right? So when you came in, let's just go here now. When you came into ASFX and you found the group of people that we have in our group, I'm going to let you define that for how you'd like to define it. I'm not going to put a word to it. But when you saw that compared to what you had before at the other group, now again, the other group was valuable for you. It gave you those good fundamental skills. But what was the difference in the people that you were around? Was that what it has to be the contrast that showed you the difference? But what stuck out to you?
To me, when I made the transition, it's kind of hard to explain because of what you said, the value of the other people. I still value what
it still has a pro, yeah.
And then I came in from here.
Yeah.
The thing that just was like very important was like the coaching, the mentorship, basically with you, I guess. And then when I met other traders that were trading your system for a long time as well, I was learning from them, like Andrew, like you know, it was more attention to like, this is it. This is what we're trading. This is what we're doing. Nothing else, no Fibonacci, nothing else, like don't ask stuff. And I think just focusing on the system helped me better than trying to do a lot of stuff. When I was in another community, it was like, yeah, this works, but this also works, and too much. And like, it was just a strict parameters that helped me, like understanding, okay, you gotta stick to something and just be consistent with it. So that was the most important.
So it's like
thing
because that shows a characteristic of who you are almost. So you're saying because you wanted that system, you wanted that precise detail, step by step. Once you found that, you initially were like, yo, I could fit in with these guys. And then you saw, okay, some of them actually think the same way. Like you and me share a lot of similar beliefs, similar vision for our future, right? Like you want to make something of yourself. So you're like, okay, now they're thinking the same way as me. They're talking the same way as me. Maybe this aligns better. But even then take that a step deeper. In my previous call this week, yesterday, I did one with Forrest. That's going to go up on the YouTube channel. You know Forrest. And we talked a lot about saving money. So can you talk about even going from the previous group that was that Spanish-based group to now just the approach towards money itself?
everyone in, I mean, at least the people that we're trying to like at least coach and say, you got to think long term. I would say everyone was focusing on long term growth. It's not like flip the account. Let's get this $100 account on regulated broker and make it big. No, it was like get a business trading account, get you a regulated broker, save a lot of money, and then we talk about trading. Then we talk about money. That was the biggest thing, the transition. It was like, and I was like, hell yeah, I like this.
Right.
You know, so, and I was already saving with that mindset. So when I knew that you guys were not, you guys were like, that was the mindset that you put us into
it aligned
like,
with you.
hell yeah,
Yeah.
this makes sense.
Right.
I like it. And that's why
were you always like focused on, was your why, like not who you are, but was your, I should say your what, was the reason for why you're trading, that thing that you want to do, has that always been the same thing from when you were with the previous group to the last year with us? Has it always been there?
help my family.
Yeah, so like that, I figured, because that would be the only reason to be able to, because I think a lot of people, even people listening, struggle with having to leave a course or leave a group or leave a strategy behind or dropped it, and that's ego. But the reason I asked the question about if you knew what you wanted to do with it, it's because like if you're really in touch with why you're doing it and what you're going to get with it, then you're not having ego come into any of that stuff. You're willing to go wherever you think you fit in best, and that's how you ended up finding us. So it's almost like your open-mindedness allowed you to fall into the right group of people, you know?
And I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I want to add that to making the transition from knowing something to like the ASFX system was so hard for me because I had previous experience with other systems. So getting used to that and making a transition to a whole different system,
hard.
No Fibonacci, no support resistance, a lot of levels or nothing like that crazy.
Hard.
It was hard because I was like, okay, I can mix this up. You can, but like it's just gonna be so hard.
Right.
Because you're gonna have to start over and create your own system, which is why
right.
you don't have to.
You don't have to do that.
You just gotta do what it works with the system. If you're gonna trade like this, you gotta trade like this. If you're gonna trade like that, you gotta trade like that. So that was the biggest my struggle, basically, making the transition from not knowing something and switching. That was the biggest thing.
Because again, a lot of people are going through that same struggle of like, I have a system, I think it works, maybe it doesn't work, and they're lying to themselves. What would you tell them? Because it can't just be as simple as a decision. Hey, I decided I'm leaving that today. You don't swallow ego like that. It does, because it comes crawling right back up. So what helped you drop the one and say, I'm going to focus on what is clearly working for other people and let that go?
To me, it was like it was hard because of all the money that I spent in
right.
that trading course. So
yes.
it was like, damn, it was gonna be no. But I decided it was like, forget about the money. Now focus on really the long-term thing. So I was like trying to make the decision of like, you want to trade like, because if you're trading like this, you gotta forget about ASFX completely and not trade it like that. So I sat down and I kind of say, which strategy I like more, which one you feel more comfortable trading with, which one you understand better, which one you can like really execute better. All those questions I asked for myself, and I was like, the A1 entry for me is like easy because I'm used to it.
Yep.
So I'm sticking to that. Adding to that, we add the D1 and then the D2. When I was like back testing it, I was like, basically, instead of entering on a Fibonacci level, this is the break of the 50,
right.
and I understand it better.
Right.
So it's like, it's the same thing. So that was when I decided, asking those questions to myself, that's when I decided I'm trading the ASFX system better. I don't need anything else.
And
that's it.
When people like to make that decision and to leave the system behind, when you're actively doing your analysis in the morning and you build your watch list, what do you do anything specific to make sure that you're not looking at it the way that the previous group or the previous system? Is there anything you do to like, I don't use that indicator anymore, is anything like that?
I deleted because I used to use Fibonacci retracements, so I deleted it off my tool.
Just got it off completely.
Got it off, and I was just, the only good thing that I know is like how to identify the market structure without looking at the indicators.
Sure.
That was the big thing that I understood.
Sure.
So now, when everything is choppy with our system, it's like, whoa, I don't know, it's spaghetti, like we said in the field seminar.
Yeah.
I take everything out and I start looking, what is the market doing? It's going down, okay, lower low, lower high, simple.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm, okay, I see this. So let's see. Let's turn the EMAs, TDI back, and then wait. And then wow, next day L50 is in the sell zone when I was looking at my downtrend. It's like okay, so it's really simple. You don't have to make it hard.
Right.
That's my take on
No,
it. You know.
I agree. I feel like in the last couple of months too, another thing that you've really done really well is you've gotten good at knowing when not to trade, which is something that nobody's talking about as like an actual skill of being a trader. Is like, yeah, you got to know what your signals are. You got to know when it's there, but then you also need to know when it's not there, and when it's close to there that the amateur would get into, but you're not. So how have you really reinforced that habit of sitting on the hands and waiting for good trades?
Well, that's we can call it a struggle, but at the same time, no, because I tell myself almost not almost every day, but like at least reflection of the week,
Sure.
weekends and stuff.
Sure.
It's like you're good at sitting on your hands, bro. Like you're really good. Now you gotta get better at executing those entries when you really like them. So that was me working on myself. I'm still working on that, but
Bro, but
like,
that's a great place to sit and do the analysis from, because like you're sitting in the middle saying I'm doing this good, but I can still do better over here. Not wow, you suck, you're terrible, or not wow, you're great even if you're losing. You're great, you're the best. You know what I mean? You're sitting in the middle and you're like, what do I do well? What do I That's the perfect place to be when you're trying to grow. If you're trying to not, I feel like, sit flat. And that's where a lot of traders get to as well. They'll find an entry, they'll find a system that can actually, give them a little bit of consistency, but they don't continue to refine the edge. They don't continue to develop it and see what could be better, right? That we always ask ourselves, what could be better? What could be bigger about this? What can I do better in that trade? So now that you've been here for a year, you're finding the consistency over the last few months, you're growing outside of your trading more than inside of your trading. What are you doing daily now to refine your edge?
I am doing a lot of markups, but like so many.
I
Like,
know, I seen him on your Instagram story.
it's so crazy. But like the thing is, like I decided to like really sleep a lot before waking up to like before 5 a.m. I have to sleep at least more than 6 hours. That was one thing I had to do. Sleep a lot, make the routine right, wake up early, get my routine done, get to the chart, and when I'm done trading, I have to do something else. I'm not just gonna lay down and that's it.
Right.
No, I go and do my workout and do other stuff outside of trading that I'm not thinking about trading anymore. It's off. After that, I know how I have other stuff to do, so I do that. Breakfast, normal life. After I'm break of trading session, I'm not trading anymore after 11 a.m. So I'm not trading.
Done.
I gotta do markups. I gotta look at overnight stuff. I gotta look at daily stuff that I didn't execute because I went to do my workout because I decided to stop. Doing that, I've been doing that for like before the quarantine started, and it was better because the quarantine started. It's like okay, now I have more time.
Right.
So a lot of markups daily. Market the Fables live with you after my markup is like best because it's like I did that correctly the way he said it, so it reinforced
Sure.
my markups and stuff.
How important are
And
the
all
markups? Because I feel like a lot of people don't want to start doing it. So how important do you think they are, and how would you help? Like, because if let's say I'm Jimmy and I never did a markup in my life, and you're doing 20 a day, and Austin's doing 20 a day, how do I even compete with that? How do I even start? It's intimidating.
like if you're not, it is really important to do markups or some kind of back testing. I know, and not everyone take the screenshot like we do and do the markups like we do.
Sure.
Because they back test different. They
Sure.
do replays and stuff. But like with my markups, instead of saying, oh, this is a shift candle, whatever, I have to replay before that to call it a shift candle and see this is an A1, no, this is not an A1 because the RSI wasn't through, blah blah blah.
Got it.
All that stuff, the process.
Got it.
So to do markups, if you're not doing markups, it's basically your learning curve is gonna be slower than us
Why?
because you're just showing up and that's it.
That's it.
Every morning. So when you take the L because you didn't do your markups, but you and stuff, then you learn from your L. You don't learn from the markup.
Right. So where you could have learned from the markup, and like for you, when you go to the boxing gym, you don't want to go to the gym and not practice and just show up on Saturday to spar. You want to show up and have the practice. So if you get hit, all right, I already did a couple fights this week. I'm used to getting hit now. You know what I mean? It's not like or in the same sense, when you win, okay, I know what this win looks like. I know what this is supposed to do. Do you think that as you do more markups, you find that if you remember, we talked about in the online seminar, I was saying like master foresight, that idea of like seeing it in the future. We talked about it in the advanced course. I've talked about it probably in a couple videos, just seeing the chart markup in the future. Do you think that doing markups has helped you see the trade? Oh, this is supposed to do this. It's not doing this, so I need to. Has that helped?
Yeah, like yesterday I learned something new from doing D2 markups. And maybe I gotta ask you in separate to like, is this valid? Because I don't know. But it's something that I noticed by doing markup. It's like, oh, this is doing really well in D2. So let me see, let me clarify that. So yeah, so when you're in the trade and you see that signal of the markups you did previous, it's like, I'm holding it. I gotta hold it because it's doing it the same thing I did it in the markup.
Right.
So there's no, it helps. It helps a lot for sure.
So to transition us a little bit into the language barrier stuff, tell me about. Let's open it up just with. I think this is a good question. Do you agree or disagree with me when I would say that most people that speak two languages overhype the difficulty of becoming a trader?
I'll say I don't think, somewhat disagree. I don't think it's about trading. I think it's about language.
Okay.
People get scared about something new in language. Like, let's say me, myself.
Yeah.
Let's say I didn't speak any English and I bumped into you, but I like trading. I was like, whoa, but this, I don't understand anything, you know?
Yeah.
Even although I know this might sound like, wow, you didn't know that, but like in English, in Spanish, I knew the word leverage, but I didn't know what it meant in English. Leverage.
Sure.
It's just so easy for you guys, but like to me, it was like, I gotta Google this. What is this? Oh, okay, got it. So I think it's more language than trading.
And I feel like people like me that don't speak two languages naturally, we're closed-minded to the difficulty of that. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like to live in a country where everybody else is speaking a different language than me, and I'm supposed to go out there and communicate with them, let alone go out there and trust this guy and buy this course and try to learn with them. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand that absolutely. So can you give, because there's people in our VIP chat, I know for a fact that a couple speak Spanish, but a couple in Europe as well speak different languages. What tips would you give them when just learning in general across different languages? Not even just with me, but just anything in general have you found to help you?
Well, you have to be patient. So like really patient with it, and you have to translate every word if you really want to understand it. That's kind of what I did, and I know other people do.
Yeah.
They pause whatever video they're watching.
Yep.
Even though you don't understand the language, at least the PowerPoint helps. If you have a PowerPoint to translate.
Sure.
If you got it write it in your notebook, and then go on Google and take a 5 minutes video. Might take an hour for you, but it is what it is if you really want it, you know.
Right.
And that's what is been helping me translate everything that I don't understand in English, basically, and ask questions like, "What is this? I don't understand," and then it makes sense because the English that I learned is more like outside, street English, you know, like academic. Now, I made the transition of even writing my whole trading plan in English, my checklist in English, everything in English, instead of just making those in Spanish and stuff.
Got it.
You know.
Do you?
So
let me ask you another one, because this is what I've noticed too. People who speak two languages, sometimes, not all of them, but some of them are more strict, more professional, more business-like when they write their plan in English, when they speak to themselves in trading about English, when they use the English term. Whereas the guy that I'm thinking of, if he speaks in Spanish, he talks to himself in his slang, like you just said, the street talk that he was raised on, and he's more likely to break his rules and lean off his edge when he speaks to himself in Spanish. What do you think about that?
I think it depends. Like, I'm talking to myself in Spanish. No, I mean, it makes sense if you're talking to yourself. Yeah, of course. But like, as writing it in my notes, like markups and stuff, by knowing the words, because I learned from a Spanish community, by knowing the right words for trading in Spanish, like that's the words that I use to keep it professional. But like, I understand like the way when you talk to yourself. Maybe, yeah, it makes sense.
And even because there's, like you said, there's some of these words, they aren't identical. Like in Spanish, the word leverage is different. Like it's not identical. So like you might not know it, but then revert to speaking to yourself in Spanish and then shortcutting it and skipping over the word or whatever it is because you don't have that, in your vocabulary.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
I guess for someone in the position of being in a like, let's say in your position where English is their second language and maybe even worse than you, they don't speak English at all.
Mm-hmm.
We have to then say mentorship is probably the only way those people are ever going to find success, is they would need to find somebody that speaks that language that's doing it too. Even if it's like, for example, like what we've been doing with some of the people that are in our group now, where they go through the course and then if they speak Spanish, I've been having you speak to them because I can't communicate with them sometimes. So I think it shows that you almost, now I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like working through it in my head, I'm like, you almost need to be even more disciplined then too when you speak that second language, right? Because you need to be so precise with the detail. And I guess that's where you probably are so sharp on your trading plan and so detailed in the way that you write everything down. What about writing? I know I've seen you do some of your posts in English and some of your posts in Spanish. What's been the prompt for that? What was your thought like behind that?
I basically want to like expand like my knowledge and my value to not only people that speak English, because I know this trading community, there's a lot of people that I know that trades and
Sure.
they speak Spanish only, and like they struggle to speak English, and or they might understand a little bit. So I want to like get my value to other people too, like not only English people, because I know this is a big market and a lot of people are trading this market. So why not making it bold so people can understand what I'm saying?
As we're talking about
That's
it,
my plan.
no, and as we're talking about it, I'm thinking, I'm like, imagine how powerful it could be for people that are in a country, and not even a Spanish speaking country, but just in a country where they don't have as many economic opportunities. But now with cryptocurrency and all this digital stuff, if they could learn to trade, they literally could create their own economy potentially, slowly, of course, not $1 million, but create their own economy out of nothing, out of just skill, out of just an idea. Just like hundreds of years ago, people created economy out of building houses. Eventually, people got paid to build the house. You know what I mean? So this is like a push into the new digital age almost. So what are you doing to prepare for all this technology and all the changes that we're living through?
Actually, I am learning. I mean, I'm learning new skills. Basically, like trading is one of them. At least like, I got that down, so I got to just keep working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm learning how to like invest in cryptocurrencies with exchanges and stuff, doing it the right way. And again, that's on a Spanish community and stuff. So it's like not even with you or with other people that speak English, but like it's more, that's an advantage for me because I don't think anyone has that course for cryptos,
Sure.
but I do have it in Spanish. So
Sure.
this is good. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going at it at different skills that I like, not just because following the money, but if I like it, okay, I'm gonna do this. If not, then that's not for me, you know. So
Yeah, absolutely.
expanding my skills.
Absolutely. With the volatility that we've seen in the market because of the virus and the frequency of trades, what are you doing to keep yourself occupied while you're trading and still growing? Because I feel like especially for me, up until recently, like it's always been a struggle to stay, like to multitask. Like I always either just like to trade or I like to do other stuff. But some people, they like to read while they're trading. What do you like to do to kind of keep yourself from over trading, keep yourself from breaking, and doing something stupid?
Well, for example, let's say today is an example of it. I knew what I wanted in my trading, like what I was watching.
Yeah.
So instead of just like staring at it like this, I was like, I'm gonna leave it. I know what I'm waiting for, so I'm gonna do some other stuff that I wanted to do after my trading session. So I started going through my to-do list basically.
Sure.
And I said, okay, I needed to organize this. So I started working on that while have the chart over there and not staring at it like a crazy person.
Yeah, but how are you okay with that? Because I feel like so many people, they can't do that. If they are looking for a trade, they're looking at the trade the whole time. They're watching it for like 5 hours. You know what I'm saying?
It's just in my experience, when doing that, staring so much, you even make stuff that aren't there.
You make
like,
stuff up, yeah.
That's a candle. That's
Right.
No, it's
Right.
not.
Right.
You know? So by learning from that mistake of like getting punched by the market
Sure.
by doing that, it's like, let me chill. I know what I'm looking for. So I'm not gonna be doing this crazy stuff anymore. So it's a mistake that I deleted from doing in my trading session, and now I work on other stuff. But I'm not like distracted. If I'm distracted and I miss the entry and I'm gonna be late, then I have to let it go because I wasn't paying attention. You know, so it's hard. I know it's hard to multitask. It's a struggle. I know
it's hard to multitask, and then it gets frustrating. I'm sure I've been there where you are trying to pull yourself off, and then you come back, you missed an entry. You're like, oh man, you know what I mean? But I feel like that's where the strict hours that we always talk about, like the strict routine, that's where that comes into play. And you can't really get mad at the stuff that's outside of those hours. It's not really your money, so to speak, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you get to sit in the position that you're in now, where you actually kind of feel like you have a handle on your trading and it's not like a gamble, it's not a loose cannon. Not that you know it like, George Soros style, but that you actually can show up every day, read risk reward, and take logical trades. What comes next for you in the trading space? I know you said a little crypto. I know you said you're doing your markups, but where do you see this going for you? Is your goal bigger account? Is your goal to take the account and do something else?
So of course everyone wants a bigger account to make more money, but like I am saving and I'm trading for it, I guess. But like it's not my main goal. My main goal is to like maintain the consistency even after 20 years later, to like let's say count on this money, like count on myself for a profitable trader, to like just build something else for myself, which is something bigger and personal. But like I'll say it here, it's a boxing gym that I want and that I can do both.
That's awesome.
Or eventually, if I make it like if I'm done with trading, let's say, I just live by what I want.
Right.
But like I know that's my long-term focus. And
so the trading is like the vehicle to get you to fund that gym and make the gym happen. No, and that makes sense. And now you're like, it seems like you've made the decision now that if you internalize good habits now, as you save more and you put more money into the account, those good habits translate into bigger trades, translates into more consistency, translates into keeping the gym open when there's low enrollments or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like what it is, and that helps because now if you make mistakes, like let's say you get greedy and you do something out of edge, you're like, are you gonna get that game or not?
Right.
It's like,
that's what I was just gonna ask you. How does that motivate you when you show up every day, knowing that that's why you're showing up?
So I know myself now. If I'm looking at a trade and I feel like I'm sweaty, I'm like, why?
Right.
Okay, so no, that's not your trade. Then it helps. It makes you think.
But it's hard because there's so many times where you get sweaty and you still want to take the trade.
I know, but like the mindset of like having that bigger goal.
That's still there. Yeah.
Staying like, come on, bro. You gotta do better than that. You're not supposed to be like this if you want to get this. So it helps. That's how I like stay sharp with it.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I wanna. Do you have anything as we're wrapping up? I think that's a really good spot to kind of end us on. Do you have anything that you would like to share with everybody listening as far as advice to somebody? Like if you could go back to Dennis a year and a half ago, what would you tell him?
I would say like, keep taking your time. Like you don't have to rush anything, because even though I'm in this a year now, a lot of people is gonna say it's not a lot of time, and I agree. A year is nothing. I'll keep telling myself, you got a long way to go. You don't rush anything. That's it. And if you're struggling with like the language barrier, if you want it, you have to translate. Come on.
You just gotta put the work in.
You gotta do it.
Be patient.
If not, then okay.
So you want it, be patient, put the work in. Because when you're not patient, you realize over the last year you've had some experiences, you get punched in the face, like you said. So it's like, if I just could go back, I'm the same way. Go back and just say, slow the fuck down, man. Just relax.
Yes.
Way better. You'll save money and you'll survive longer. And that's now where you're like, wait a minute, I'm not going to get the gym next year, but I could get the gym in 10 years, 5 years. That could absolutely be, if I screw around and I stay with this unregulated it's just probably not happening.
$200 account, no, it's not gonna happen.
No.
Save that money.
Right.
Save that money, invest it, and then when you're ready, you're ready.
Right.
I was demo trading for like your system for like 8 months.
just to
And
get,
now I'm doing it.
just to refine it. Yeah. But that's a perspective on it. You're treating it like a business. You're looking to take it more seriously than, hey, I got $200 in an account. How do I get it to 500 today? You know what I'm saying? But listen, bro, this is really, really good stuff. I think everybody's going to be able to take some value out of this in some way. So thank you for being here, D. I appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you drop a comment. I'm going to put Dennis's Instagram link in the description of this video, so you guys go give him a follow, and then let us know if you want to bring D back on, any specific questions for him. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.